Kimlin Company is sponsored by LowTeamRealty.com. Buy low, sell high with Keller Williams, Lake Travis Marketplace, Austin, Texas. Let us refer you to an expert agent near you. Buy low, sell high with LowTeamRealty.com.
Hey, welcome to Kimlin Company. We have a great show for you today. It is May 27th. Thanks so much for coming along with us today. We have a new time, and it's Thursday. We have 9 a.m. Good morning, West Coast. How's it going? 9 a.m. Pacific and East Coast, it's noontime. So happy lunchtime to all of you. This is a new time slot for me. I am Kimla Lowe, and today I want to introduce you to my other half of my honeymoon here, Bill Lowe. He's my hubby. And we're going to be talking about the eclipse in Sagittarius. We're also going to be talking about what the eclipse does. It brings in a lot of change. And we're going to be discussing tactics when you are called upon by the universe to pivot. So I want to let you know that Bill has his degree in business and marketing from the University of Southern California, and my degree is in metaphysical counseling. So we have this kind of blend that we do. Our passion is real estate, and so we've teamed up on lowteamrealty.com. You can look at us and our website and get all the information there. If you are interested in real estate, we can always refer you to a wonderful specialized agent in your area. All righty. We have this wonderful kind of fallout, I want to say, from this intense eclipse at the full moon. You might have heard that it is called the blood moon, the full flower moon. But this particular eclipse that we have just had as of yesterday is really going to bring about a lot of change for not only personally, but also for the entire planet. And this is going to be played out in the next, I want to say, 2 weeks to 3 months. It can already go as far out as 6 months, what this change is going to do. If you do not have your natal chart, go to my website, kimlalowe.com, and you can get it for free. And that way you will know exactly what we're talking about when we dive into astrology and how it's going to affect you. So what I do is I do a lot of sessions, and I like to combine a lot of, good old practical tips, and not just that, also some metaphysical tips as well. So we're going to be talking about how this particular full moon, this eclipse, eclipses were always feared in ancient astrology. And as a matter of fact, there's been a lot of written history about how death was imminent, and you were shot if you went outside during an eclipse. That's how intense it was. So thank God we don't believe in that anymore, but that's what we're coming to as far as Sagittarius goes. Sagittarius believes in ancient wisdom, believes in spiritual patterns, foundations that are based upon your belief structure, also about international travel and using the wisdom and the experience through travel in your life. You don't get everything from a book. You can also travel, and you can also have some wonderful lessons through experience of travel as well. You've traveled a lot, right?
Traveled a lot, all over the world, several different times, and really, I really enjoy international travel. It's been a passion of mine, work-wise, and also personally. We've taken a lot of international trips, and it's a pleasure. I've enjoyed the people, I've enjoyed the environments, I've enjoyed the food, and it's been a great experience.
Yeah. I have to honestly say that my degrees and all of the college that I've gone through and the extended classes that I've taken and studying with the Chinese masters and all of that, just traveling and being amongst the people, you absorb it through your pores. You have these experiences that are personalized. You can, you have that additional smell, the tastes, your senses really absorb a lot of the lessons and a lot of the, I want to say you understand her philosophies a lot better than just perhaps reading it out of a book. And I have had the pleasure when I was younger to be a travel agent for 16 years. So I took advantage of that and traveled whenever I could. And the first time I went to Europe, I was 15 years old. So I know I got caught by the travel bug early. But we've traveled a lot separately together, and we cannot recommend it highly enough. I believe that this particular eclipse, because Sagittarius rules travel and international travel, that this travel ban is going to be lifted cautiously, because we still have Saturn there, which is Capricorn, which does everything very, very prudently. So it's going to be cautiously that this is going to be available to us once again. But we've had a lot of fun in real estate as well, haven't we?
We've had a ton of fun the last couple of years in Texas. It's been quite an experience in real estate. We've done a lot. We've done a lot in terms of working with buyers, sellers, investors, people that want to lease, referrals, and that sort of thing. And so it's been a really positive experience.
Yeah. And with the pandemic, there's such an awareness that people were unsatisfied with where they were living, right?
Yeah, people started looking at, if I'm going to have to be in my home, I want to be in a home that, that I enjoy more than maybe the one you're in at the time. And so a lot of people were making changes. A lot of people were pivoting in terms of, going to a different home. Maybe they were in a too large of a home. They were getting lost in it and they wanted to downsize. Maybe they were in too small of a home. They wanted to upsize. But either way, they were looking for something different. And so a lot of people thought the pandemic would really slow down the real estate market. It did quite the opposite. It speeded it up. It made it more, more of a seller's market versus a buyer's market, because, the properties came on the market and they were gone in a heartbeat.
Exactly. And a lot of people had the choice of working from home, and they decided they didn't have to live with where their corporate office was anymore. Everyone was, like us, getting on the internet and Zooming and communicating. And a lot of people were pivoting and saying, I don't have to live in the city anymore. I can go and live by the beach if I want to, or my kids can do their lessons from home, or they kind of were in the process of rethinking the quality of education. And education, higher education, by the way, is ruled by Sagittarius. So all of these things are going to be coming into play. Also, one other thing I wanted to bring up as well is publishing, writing, creating, blogging. All of that is ruled by Sagittarius. So many people are going to have this realization that, hey, you know what? It's time that I write my thoughts down or get creative in how I'm going to communicate. This is something that I feel is going to be kind of a longer process to kind of bubble up to the surface. But, keep in mind that if you have a project that maybe you put on the back burner, this is a perfect time because we've got the marriage of this particular eclipse in Sagittarius. And then with the communication planet at zodiac sign of Gemini, who is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is going to turn retrograde on the 29th. So when this happens, I want to tell everybody, this is a perfect time to go back over your creative projects, how your company or how your business or your family or your partnership,
right,
how you communicate, how you can do it a little bit better, how you can bring it up to the specific level that everybody else is playing on. There are going to be amazing inventions as far as communication goes, and we are all going to be a part of it, just like how we had to click over, into all of these pivoting communication points that we needed to keep our income going. This is going to be something that's coming right around the corner. So the best advice that I can give, especially when you're pivoting, is to remain flexible and open-minded, right?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And to try everything twice. You try something once and you think, oh my God, that didn't work. They couldn't hear me. I looked horrible, whatever. The second time around, it feels a little bit more natural and a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, you can kind of gauge that, oh, wow, this is really having a really good result in my business, and also connecting with your social media, but just connecting with everybody else. Planet Earth is a human experience. We need human connection, whether it is in person, whether it's on a screen, whether it's something that you write, right? I mean, we're still reading Shakespeare and he hasn't been on the planet for hundreds of years. So, I mean, these things are impressionable and, they really do have an effect in our lives. I'm looking back and I'm thinking about the pivoting topic. What when you were younger, can you think of something that would fit the bill that really changed your life?
No. No, I think when I was younger, what probably really changed my life was getting involved in sports. I was a swimmer and a water polo player. I think that really helped me focus more on education as well. I didn't have a lot of time to study, so the time spent studying was more productive, I think. And had I not had sports, I think I would have drifted off somewhere else and maybe not done as good a job on the studying part of it.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point because, the first pivots that I'm aware of is when you are going through your school, you're going through elementary, and then all of a sudden this new challenge comes up, right? For junior high school, college. Through those particular changes, we have something that is what I would like to call a residual factor. When you go through change, what happens is that you really kind of get very insecure about your self-image. And especially when you're going through school, I think that an activity or a sport or perhaps, some type of a creative outlook that you can provide for children gives them or supports, their self-image. And I think it makes them feel more stable in the midst of change. They know that they can go and do their sport and do well, or they're getting positive reinforcement about, their abilities. And it could be music, it could be dance, it could be theater, it could be any one of those, right?
That's true. I mean, it could be something other than sports, like theater, music. I mean, any number of things, I suppose. But yeah,
paint, art.
Yeah, there wasn't really, I didn't see much change going from grammar school to junior high school, from junior high school to high school. The big change was going from high school to college. I think that was the first time you really feel like you're on your own to some degree, and you really have to make good decisions about what you do and how you spend your time. And if you don't, you'll flunk out. And if you do, you'll continue on and graduate, and have a good experience. But it's, I knew many people that had real trouble going from high school to college, and consequently, after their freshman year or sophomore year, they flunked out. They couldn't handle it because they couldn't handle a change.
Right. And, some people adapt to change better than others.
True.
And some people change into maybe something that is an expectation of maybe the parents, or something that doesn't resonate with that particular person's real mission in life. I know that for me, when I went to college, I was a dancer, and I studied interior design. And I was passionate about dancing. My mother was a ballet teacher. I had been kind of raised, with ballet, tap, modern dance. And it not only was it very natural for me, but I kind of, my soul, it made my soul sing. I was very, aligned with that particular image. And when I got into a car accident and crushed my leg, I had to pivot. Yeah. And that was huge. And that was in college. And that was huge for me, because not only could I not dance, I could barely walk. So when life kind of takes that from the outside and puts it, right in your face that you've got to pivot, you've got to come up with something else. You've got to have a plan B, that I never thought I would rely on a plan B. It was a little bit difficult. And mentally, very much so. Emotionally, mentally, my plan was shot. So from then on in, I really had to be very grateful. So I started implementing a couple of things, and one was not to isolate myself and to do as much as I possibly could to push myself. I was doing that anyway. Whenever you're doing anything physically, you're kind of used to challenging yourself. But also being grateful every single day for the very, very smallest advancement that I was seeing, or that I was struggling with, or I got, to that particular goal. And what it also kind of led myself on an expansion of my spiritual journey, because I thought, you know what, dancing came very, very easy to me. And obviously the universe had something else in mind for me. And I thought, okay. And a lot of times I had to just surrender for my healing process, but also to surrender to the new opportunities and the new doors that were going to be opening for me, or the paths that were going to be highlighted for me. So I had to stop my particular education at that time. I couldn't really get around the campus very well, and I had to do some surgeries. But what happened was I took a job at a travel agency.
Yep, and that's where you got international travel.
Yeah, that I enjoyed so much. And I learned so much from that, that I was still learning. I was still experiencing. I was still learning, even though I wasn't on the campus. So your children right now are experiencing learning from a computer on an online experience. And we know from our real estate, taking it online, the classes that we need to take, right. It's not fun.
It's pretty boring.
It's pretty boring, actually, to really stay there and not really get the human contact.
You can see where students would be, in my opinion, anyway, a lot better off being in the classroom, just because you're forced to sit there and learn, and it's not quite as boring as online, because you've got a teacher. Hopefully the teacher's pretty funny at times, maybe crack some jokes or whatever. I know mine did, but they're trying to make it fun, a fun experience in the classroom. And so when you're online, pretty hard to do that. I mean, it's pretty formal. It's pretty serious. It's not really something that you look forward to doing every day, like going to school and visiting with your friends and socializing, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think just having the teacher there and your peers there, you kind of feel like you're supported. You're not, at a young age, maybe you're not ready to take responsibility for your time just yet. Mm-hmm. How you are, organizing your time or using your time, or, the young ones still are expected to get on there and do the work. And it's hard. The parents have to sit there. You really have to sit there with the young ones that aren't at the age of responsibility just yet. So I think it's a very high expectation. Let's put it that way.
I think if you're talking about higher education, like colleges and universities, much easier to adapt to the online setting, because half of those students that go to those colleges and universities are probably commuting, anyway. And there's a number of them that that are having to work part-time. And I think the online is maybe certainly an option rather than attend classes on the college or university. And it's easier because these people who are going to colleges and universities are adults. It's easier for them to adapt. That they're trying to find their own way on how to get things done and get decent grades so they can get a job.
Exactly.
And when they get out, and if they don't do well in college, they're going to have difficulty in finding a job. I know for a fact. I mean, one of the first things some employers ask when you get out of college is, what was your GPA? I mean, they want to know how serious you were about learning,
right?
Because you're going to have to learn, on the job. So that's a pretty important piece of the whole equation when it comes to, going through colleges and universities. So,
right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, another thing is Sagittarius with this eclipse coming up. When you go through an eclipse, there is a darkness that comes over either the moon, the sun, if it's a solar or lunar eclipse. And there's evidence of this, and I'll get to that in a second. But what this particular eclipse, more than any of them do, is you all of us have received educational cosmic downloads from the universe. And through that, we are going to be assimilating new ways and also higher learning just by way of these particular eclipses. Eclipses push you into where you are really supposed to be going on your mission here in life. So if they're famous, eclipses are famous, especially the full moon eclipses, of taking people out of their comfort zones. Maybe somebody in your inner circle is going to be eclipsed out, which means they could be leaving. They could be really beginning something fabulous for themselves, but maybe in your company or maybe in your group or maybe in your family, you are left without them and having to perhaps reorganize the duties or the department or the way you have worked in the past. So there's a lot of reorganization going to be taking place in the next 2 weeks, because then we have, eclipses always comes in pairs. It's sometimes in threesomes, but we have a pair going on. And the next one is going to be the eclipse in Gemini. And this particular eclipse is really going to be a new moon. It's going to be opening up this fabulous way that out of the darkness comes something new for each of us. And Geminis rule communication. They rule transportation as well, because they're under Mercury. So they're going to be ruling the thought process. And I'll guarantee you this means it's going to be speeded up on a daily basis. So communication is going to be really something. This is when those new inventions are going to be coming up in June. So for the next 2 weeks, you may have to make some pivots.
Yep.
You may have to make some decisions.
True.
And we've got Neptune there to kind of make things on the outside like a little bit foggy. They're not going to be as clear as you normally would have your decisions, you know, where you make the paper and you put the line down the middle, the pros and the cons. And it's not going to be that easy the next 2 weeks. The decisions that you are going to be relied upon to make right now, they have to be from inside. They have to be made by your intuition. They have to be made when you get in contact with your soul's mission. If you don't know how to do that, there's a lot of help out there. I can see it immediately in your natal birth chart and astrology. Some people do it by meditation. Some other people go back through therapy when you were a child. What did you want to do when you were like 5 years old? What made you happy then? Were you a singer? Did you like to paint? Did you like to draw? What did you like to do back then? And it's always that when you were just a little seedling, you knew why you were put here. And then you got distracted by all these other expectations and all these other things that are coming into your life. But I know that each and every one of my children gave me the heads up when they were like 5 years old what they wanted to do. What about you?
Probably just my youngest son, who wanted to be an artist, and that's what he ended up doing. He went to Kansas City Art Institute, and then he decided to get a master's degree in art history from St. Andrews University in Scotland. And now he's trying to find a teaching job, and sometimes those are hard to find. But I think he'll eventually end up doing that. And my oldest son, really, I don't think he ever really knew. I mean, he got out of college and just decided his niche was to be a salesperson, and he's done pretty well with that. He works for Salesforce, so he's done really well in Chicago, and I think they've both kind of carved out their own way in this life, and I think they're doing pretty well without my help. I mean, they're on their own road to opportunity.
And you can see that in the astrology charts as well.
Right.
For me, I like to do a lot of different things.
I can jump from one to another, whatever you need. And I like to experience different jobs, different working, whatever it is. I started studying astrology when I was 10 years old. So that gives you a clue as to, what my passion is. As far as, psychic ability, I really kind of shut that down. I didn't think that was appropriate because of religious beliefs. So in this particular time of eclipses, what the universe is asking you to do is to leave something behind that no longer serves you, whether it is, extravagance, whether it is gluttony, whether it is, wasting time, whether it is a job that is not giving you the, is not giving you what you need as far as satisfaction in your job or recognition in your job. It's not challenging for you anymore. And I just want to say that when you are pivoting, let's just say throughout this eclipse, your company is the one that is going to reorganize, is going to, do different types of reorganization as far as your department goes. And you're offered a position that's a little bit different from what you're comfortable in. So you're asked to go out of your comfort zone. You don't feel like that's something that you want to do. And let's just say it's across the board. So you're not getting a better level pay.
It's a lateral move.
A lateral move. You are expected to learn more, do more, have more responsibility. And it's okay right now to polish up that resume and rely and trust on this June eclipse that's coming up to open some new opportunities for you. And during that time, you could feel really insecure.
True.
Right?
True. I think we know some people.
Yeah. That could be a time when, like I said, your image is going through, a new, just developing something new within yourself. But I feel like all of us have many talents. Some have, an expertise that they've been born with. But I feel like if you want to go and do something new, something more challenging, or something presents itself to you, this is the time that it's okay to not be okay.
True.
And we're all here to support you in your new endeavors. And that's what's going to be coming up. There's going to be, with this Mercury retrograde in Gemini, you're going to have a lot of people from your past trying to get a hold of you. Hey, they may even, introduce you to somebody, that can really provide that particular new pathway for you that you've been looking for.
True. It's true. I mean, I've had a lot of people already. I haven't heard from some of these people in 50 years. And I've had people friend me on Facebook that I haven't heard from in 50 years. And they found me somehow, and all of a sudden they want to be friends on Facebook. And I know who they are because I either went to high school or college with them. And but that was a long, long time ago. And I accepted every one of them. And some guys, some gals, but it was really interesting how they even found me on Facebook, to be honest with you, because I'm not a big participant really on Facebook. I'm on it, but it's pretty interesting when you get a friend request from somebody. You said, "Oh yeah, I remember that person from Santa Ana High School."
Right.
And so it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience.
Yeah. And to renew some of those partnerships. Now, talking about people coming from your past, I always get this. Well, does that mean that my ex-husband or my ex-girlfriend is going to come pounding on my door, or, start trolling me on, social media, or, reliving the wounds and the heartbreaks of the past. And I have to be really honest. Saturn's there to help you with your boundaries, help you say, look, I'm putting up my boundaries here. And you know what? I am willing to do this, and I'm willing to talk to you here, but I'm not willing to rehash the past. I'm not willing to take you back on any circumstances. I'm not willing to, to go through all of those things. And you may just say to yourself, I've outgrown that level. I have outgrown, where I was during that time. And people come into our lives, for reasons, seasons, those kinds of things. And it's okay to not be okay with them, contacting you again. It's okay. We all can move on. We all can upgrade. We all can rely on new relationships to kind of get us to the next level. But the key is to open your mind and your heart up to new experiences. And eclipses sometimes are exhausting. because of the amount of downloads that are coming through, especially if you have Sagittarius in your chart. Now, my hubby Bill,
Sagittarius.
He's a Sagittarius. That's why he's here. Yeah. I have my moon and rising in Sag. So this is a very important eclipse for us. And with Jupiter that rules Sagittarius, having a great aspect to Mars, it may bring us a new opportunity in our work and who we work with and things like that. But we really had to just go take a nap yesterday. I mean, I was wiped out.
Yeah, and that's a change. That's one of the changes that's really happened due to this whole COVID-19 thing.
Yeah,
is there's been a number of pivots that we've had to make because of COVID-19. Everybody's had to make them. Everybody has their own, that they can list and they can say these are the changes that I've had to make. And last night I had a dream about these changes, and I actually call them the 5 E's, the 5 E's, the 5 pivot E's due to COVID-19. And one is eating. That's the first one. And eating, we used to go out and eat a couple times a week. We used to go to this one place in Austin, Texas called Cafe Blue every Friday night. And
shout out to Cafe Blue.
Shout out to Cafe Blue. And then we used to go to, another place at least once a week and eat out and have fun. And maybe one of those places we could dance. We could do something like that. But COVID-19 destroyed all that. I mean, there was nowhere to go. So we ended up cooking more. We ended up eating at home more. We ended up gaining some weight as a result. we ended up, making that change because we had no other choice. We had to. It was a change we had to make. Now, will that change continue on, even with everybody being vaccinated and nobody being concerned about COVID-19 anymore? Maybe some of it will. I doubt we will ever go out and eat as much as we were. I think we'll save it for more special occasions, but we'll still do that, but maybe not as much. Maybe we'll like eating at home, and maybe we'll try to eat a little more healthy at home as opposed to eating all this crazy food, comfort food that caused us to gain some weight. And I'm sure a lot of people fall in that category, not just us, but others. So that's one thing. I think another thing that comes out is entertainment. I mean, we were moviegoers. We went to the movies once a week.
Love the movie.
We love going to see movies and eating popcorn.
Film right here.
Eat popcorn. Drink. Have a beer or a glass of wine or something like that. And at the theater, because they all serve that now. And we really enjoyed that. That was like a date night. But, the fact is, we couldn't do that anymore. So what do? We relied more on our own television set and Netflix. I mean, we couldn't do anything else. There was nowhere else to go.
No concerts, no music.
No
and
music.
In Austin, that was huge.
That was huge. We couldn't go. We couldn't go to the Green Bay Packer bar and watch Packer games.
Yeah, sports.
We couldn't do any of that. So we relied on doing another thing at home. More of that at home. Will more of that continue down the road? Probably. I mean, probably because we found it, pretty comfortable that we could get all these football games at home. We could have virtual. We could do virtual concerts and stuff like that. And so that was pretty interesting stuff. But I don't think we will. I don't think we'll ever do what we were doing, as much as we did before. I think it'll taper off. I think we'll do less.
Yeah.
On the entertainment side. Exercise is another one of the 5 E's. I mean, we didn't have any. We were members of a tennis club in Austin, Texas, and we were playing tennis there all the time. Although we did have a tennis court in our condominium pod in the center of our pod, of 14 condominiums, there was a tennis court. It saved us. It saved us because we couldn't go play tennis at the tennis club. It was closed.
Yeah,
we couldn't
go to the gym.
We couldn't go to the gym at the tennis club or all those classes. It was closed. Everybody knows that. I mean, they shut down. They absolutely shut down all of that exercise opportunity. And we were left with, well, the only thing we can do now, and which is a great option, by the way, is we could play tennis at our own tennis court in our own backyard in the condominium pod. And we ended up doing that almost every day. Almost every day. And that was our relief valve as far as exercise goes, because there was nowhere else to go. All the pools were closed.
Everything was closed.
I mean, nothing, all the public pools, everything was shut down.
You couldn't go outside.
No, you couldn't do any. Parks were closed. No. The bike trails were closed. Everything was closed.
So I do know that the exercise equipment in home, I'm talking about, skyrocketed.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they wanted everything delivered to their door, right?
Yep.
And so I know that whatever means you kept up with your exercising. So it's a total pivot there. You couldn't go outside. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that. Pivot. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to have it inside. We're going to, secure a room that's our exercise space, or, that kind of a thing, especially for the kids. It's hard. The kids need to go outside and run and play. And so then you had to play with them, right? You had to, think of games and do things for the kids as well, not just on an adult level. So you were pivoting all this time.
Right.
There's another E you have.
Well, you talked about taking naps. Well, the COVID-19 brought on just an additional level of stress. I mean, everybody has a certain amount of stress. I don't care whether it's from work or personally or whatever. Everybody has stress. But COVID-19 brought on an additional level, which, we all had to deal with. And our way of dealing with it was, when we're really, really exhausted, and that's exhaustion is another E. When we're really exhausted, we just decided, what's wrong with taking an hour's nap? What's wrong with kind of getting rejuvenated?
No matter what time.
No matter what time of the day. I mean, during the afternoon, it could be noon or it could be 4:00 in the afternoon, but why not take time out to rest or take a nap, when you need to. And it just basically helps you get through the stress. It helps you deal with the stress that you're incurring because of COVID-19, and because there's a certain amount of things you just can't do everything anymore. So, that was a good thing. I mean, that worked out well for us. I mean, will we continue on that pace? Not maybe every day, but certainly some days we do.
Especially with this Sagittarius eclipse.
Yeah, especially with this eclipse, we've been tired.
We felt it very heavily.
Yeah, we've been.
Did you guys?
We've been pretty tired.
Yeah, pretty tired.
And the last E is escape, and that just means that I've never been big on social media. I mean, I'm an old guy. I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm not a big Facebook guy or LinkedIn guy or any of that sort of stuff. And all of a sudden, I found myself spending a whole lot more time on Facebook and LinkedIn and trying to find old friends and basically, looking at everything going on, with all of the people I'm connected with on LinkedIn. And it was quite a eye opener because I'd never really done that before. I mean, and so I was like spending quite a bit of time every day just catching up on Facebook, catching up on LinkedIn. And that was something brand new. And I think that's something that I'll continue to do just because I found it enjoyable. Yeah.
Also, escaping, there are different ways to escape.
True.
And you can get into the fantasy world. You can get into drinking. You can get into drugging. You can get into something that, applies a little bit of an escape for everybody else. And dreaming. Napping can be an escape as well.
It's just like last night, my dream was these 5 E's.
Yeah.
That was a dream. I woke up this morning, I said, you know what? I dreamt about these 5 E's and how they impacted us during COVID-19.
Pisces moon and Pisces rising.
There you go.
He loves his dreams. So what I'm talking about here is that through this particular pandemic, we learned all how to pivot. We have learned, if there hasn't been anything else that we've learned how to pivot, how to know that there is going to be another way to do things, and that, you do have the support of not only your peers, but also, companies were supportive. I know the government checks went out. Let's not talk about the government, but the support I found in the places I needed to find it. Also the escape and, can come at a spiritual level. You can escape into, your meditation and your spiritual practices, and connect your body and your mind through a higher level within your spiritual self as well. So these 5 E's, I think we have all experienced some way or another, right?
I think everybody has, and you might have a few more.
Yeah.
A few more that you have had to deal with. I mean, we just kind of thought it would be interesting to share what our experience has been with COVID-19 and what pivots that we've had to make. And some of those pivots will stay on and some of them won't.
Right.
But it just depends. But it's really been an interesting learning experience through this whole COVID-19 pandemic, because, these changes that we've had to make, there were changes that were necessary, and they will probably prompt changes down the road in what we decide to do, because we have had to deal with this past, year and a half or whatever it's been, dealing with COVID-19 and dealing with all of the, all of those impacts, all of those pivot points. We've really learned how to be better, I think, better people.
Definitely more flexible, and not to expect as much. And also I feel like, usually, I've been doing this for many years, and eclipses really are very abrupt, especially when they come from an outside source. You're not expecting, like the death of a loved one in your family, or the loss of a job, or some of these other things. And I'm not playing this down, but what I'm doing is saying that this time around on these eclipses, we are so strong in our pivoting skills that when these particular moments of perhaps uncertainty, chaos, or change in general come up for us, we are so better equipped to handle them. And that's what I wanted to point out about these eclipses. And now we are also learning something very cool, and that is how to make lemonade out of lemon, how to make it good, how to make it work for us, how to love the change that happens, whether it's on the interior, the exterior, monetary level, however that is, we have been awakened to learn how to use the juice in our favor. And, I'm pretty good. I've heard from my clients for the last almost 30 years now, how to really show a different perspective or a different light on some of what we have assumed were tragedies or traumas in our life, that perhaps, there was a reason why that happened the way it was. So you have no idea what's ahead of you sometimes. And sometimes it's much better than what you think you've lost. And those are very encouraging things. And also, a lot of people just are very stubborn to change.
They are.
Yeah.
They're resistant.
They're resistant. So very, very carefully, if you have someone in your group that that's exactly, they're having a very hard time, changing, you may just encourage them to try something once. Right?
Yeah, I mean, change is good.
Yeah.
I don't care whether it's in your personal life or your business life, change is always good. I mean, a lot of people that want to do things the same way year in, year out, that's not so good. Change is what moves the planet. I mean, change is what, drives success. You need to change to be successful. I mean, if just think about, I can think of one perfect example of companies that have not changed, that really suffered. A number of examples, actually. And all of a sudden they decided to make that change and they were successful. They became successful again. But change in personal life and business, in the business world, is always good. I mean, people that don't want to change are people that, are going to prevent your company, for example, in moving forward, in the right direction. So everybody's on the same ship.
Yeah. And another thing that I want to say is, you go through a change. If it doesn't work out, you can change it again.
Sure.
Use change as something in your tool belt, okay? Because if you fail going forward, it is a wonderful thing. Don't think you can't fail. You can fail as long as you fail forward in going forward with your life and your intention and what you'd like to do. If you would like for me to, to spend some time with you and introduce you to your path and also the upcoming changes that are about to occur in your particular life, you can reach me at my website, KimlaLowe, LOWE.com. And I have a lot of different sessions as well. I'm also a medium. And so if you are stuck in the process of healing, mediumship for your loved ones on the other side is a perfect way to start the healing process to go forward in your life, if that is blocking you in any way. We're at the end of the show, hon.
Already.
I know. Did you enjoy it?
It was great. Great show. I love pivoting.
I do too. We pivoted at a very old age, I want to say. And this is my honeymoon guy, right? Okay. So for all of you out there, embrace the change. Know that the universe has some nice opportunities coming for you and some nice options within your circle of friends, of family, and also your spiritual circle. Let's expand it cautiously. And also that you are in charge. You have control. You can make your boundaries. Whatever you are willing to do, take it step by step. This is Kim Lowe and
Bill
Lowe. We're from LowTeamRealty.com. We'd love to serve you in your real estate needs as well. Until next time, catch us at our new time right here on Contact Talk Radio, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern. And you can catch us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon, Alexa, Google Play. Oh, yeah, you can get us if you want us. We'd love you.
Take care, guys.
All right, everyone. Till next time, may the angels protect you and guide you. Bye, everyone.
See ya.